Hello and welcome everybody to our December Teacher Advisory Council meeting. Thank you all for making it in today. Hopefully you are safe and warm. I've got a great agenda for you all today. I do want to remind you that this meeting is being recorded, so please make sure to keep your cameras on. And with that said, I'd like to hand it on over to our amazing chairperson, Melanie Callahan.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't know how amazing I am right now, but I'm definitely going to try. Justin, I don't have a roll call list. Do we have a roll call list with our actual roster?
We do. It'll be on a slide here in just a second for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I hope everybody's well. I hope that everybody's enjoying their snow day if they're having a snow day. And if not, thank you for hopping on in the middle of a busy time this school year. So thank you all so much. We'll get right to that. Justin, are you going to send it to me just like regular or on email?
Yes, I'll email it to you right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience. That's something I should have noticed. I just want to make sure I have it accurate, especially since our last one is today.
Chair Callahan, I'm happy to just say a few words of greeting while you get that roster sent over.
I think that's even better. That's
perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Meredith.
I want to echo our appreciation for you all joining us on this blustery day. We did have a fair amount of snow where I live, and I always think it's quite beautiful when it first falls. Of course, in a couple of days, we'll be wanting it to melt. But I wanted to extend Commissioner Fletcher's regrets that he was unable to join you all today. He was double booked, as he often is, and was needed to attend another meeting in person. And he asked if I was available to join you all for your meeting today. And of course, I was honored to do so. So I will be on the call taking notes and carrying your feedback back to the commissioner. So with that, I know we have an excellent agenda for you and look forward to hearing your feedback and thoughts on the topics presented. But again, thank you all for your service. We know you're all very busy, especially at this time of year. So thank you for spending some time with us this morning.
Thank you, Meredith, so much for being here. We appreciate it. And thank you for those thoughts and opinions that we'll have with the commissioner. Appreciate it. All right, our roll call is up and ready to go. So if you are present when I call your name, please just state that you are in fact here. Kevin Daly, Scott Bratcher, Breckenridge. Oh, I'm going to go right down the call. Here we go. I'll do this one. Chad Davidson, McCracken County.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, hey, Chad. Good. Sorry, I was looking at a different one. I'm multitasking, guys. Carla Criswell, Jefferson County.
Good morning.
Good morning. Becky Spies, Kentucky School for the Blind. Okay. Miss Tony Prater. Rosa Cubera Hurley. Carla Lawson, Whitley County. Mandy Perez, Crittenton County.
Present.
Hello, Mandy. Kevin Daly, Boone County. Kristen Morgan, Danville.
Good morning.
Good morning. Corey Burns from Mercer County.
Here. Good morning.
Good morning. Sarah Lizer from Fayette County. Casey Page, Shelby County. Miss Brooke Leffingwell from Campbell County.
I'm here.
Nice to see you. Megan Hall, Letcher County.
I'm here.
Hey. Joseph Stivers, Jefferson County.
Good morning here.
Good morning. Emmanuel Montegreen, Harlan County. Wendy Young, Fayette County.
Present. Good morning.
Good morning. Nick Schaffner, Middlesboro Independent.
I'm here.
Good to see you, Nick. Jessica Hobson from Christian County. Shane Baker, Warren County.
I'm here.
Nice to see you. Scott Bratcher, Breckenridge County. All right. Thank you all so much for being able to be here this morning and being in attendance. We sure do appreciate you. And we will move forward now with the approval of today's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Wendy. Motion to approve.
Chad
Thank you.
Davidson, second.
Thank you. So now, having approved the agenda, let's go ahead and move forward with the approval of minutes from our last meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the last meeting's minutes?
Chad
Carla
Davidson.
Bidwell,
motion.
Morgan, move to approve.
Okay, let's restart. I think I heard Chad with the first motion.
Kristen Morgan, second.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. I appreciate you. All right, so now since we have our agenda approved, our minutes from our last meeting approved, we would love to welcome Miss Ellie Gilbert, our Assistant Director from the Office of Educator Licensure and Effectiveness, with a state interview initiative update. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ellie,
Okay.
take it away.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So if you want to go on and click on the next slide. So we are working within the Division of Educator Recruitment and Development. We are working with our Go Teach KY ambassadors and alumni to collect some data from classroom teachers about what keeps them in the class. So this is our stay interview initiative. And I had originally planned to talk to you guys about this in September, and then we got a substitution on the agenda. So we just bumped it to December. So we've already started this and it's going really, really well. We heard our first round of updates from ambassadors this week. It was really interesting. So how this is working is our ambassadors are tasked to find 10 folks, and some of them, of course, are going above and beyond and doing more than 10, but they're finding at least 10 folks that they can interview in their school, in their district, or somewhere else, just depending on what their interest is. That we have 8 questions that we're going to go through with you guys today. There's no personally identifiable information attached to this. We just ask them their grade level and their experience level, and that's pretty much it. So our ambassadors are doing 10. So we have 24 ambassadors. So that's about 240 at the minimum. And then our alumni ambassadors are doing 5 each at least. And there are 17 of them. So I think that's 40-ish of those. So we should have a fairly nice database of responses once we're completed. So we're going to do one round that they've been doing those November through December, and then the next round with the same folks that they interviewed before in March and April. So that's kind of an overview of the project. Next slide, please. So what we're going to do is kind of go through these questions with you, give us some feedback on these questions. Think about if we proceed forward with this next year, what are some ways that we could tweak or improve this to get better data? What are some suggestions that you might have? But we just kind of want to run through the questions with you. We won't use your answers in our data, but we do want to hear from you what you might say if you were asked to be interviewed. So the next question, next slide. So our first question, and you can either come off mute and jump into the conversation, or you can enter it in the chat. Why do you stay in education?
go first. This is Wendy Young. I stay in education because I love teaching. I love making a difference for children and adults because I'm making a difference for parents as well. And just to see how when students, especially I'm an elementary teacher, so I can see a huge difference within a few months of students either not being able to read or not being able to write very well. And then, when the light bulb goes off, to see how excited they are about learning. And I love to encourage students to be better as just human beings, just wanting to create better civic, not humans, better students in education.
I love that. And Justin, if you want to jump in and add anything to these questions, I know that you're working with this pretty closely. So if there's anything I'm overlooking, anyone else have an answer for our first question they want to share? Carla says, I stay in education because I love advocating for those that feel like they don't have a safe, brave space in education. And I love that too. That is so powerful.
I know that I stay in education. This is Shane Baker, by the way. I know I stay in education because I teach at a high needs school with a vulnerable population. So I believe that what I do makes a difference as well. To kind of echo what everybody else says, I think we're all here because we believe we're doing something positive in our local communities.
Absolutely. Thanks. Amber answered, on the hard days, I wonder that myself. That's honest and vulnerable. We appreciate that. But even on those harder days, a former student stops by my room or sends a message that lets me know that I do make a difference. And that's the biggest reason she stays. Nick says he continuously decides to stay in education because of the commitment he has to being a positive impact in the lives of students in rural Appalachia. And I appreciate that. As one of those former students myself, I really appreciate that. So this is consistent with what we heard from teachers when we reviewed some of the surveys that they have conducted. They love kids, they love teaching, and they want to change lives and make a difference. So you all are right on track with that. Let's go on to that next question. Oh, I think this is maybe one of my favorite ones. When did you know you wanted to become a teacher? You guys are thinking. Kristen said for that first, when I stay in education because I love my kids and I know I'm making a difference in their lives.
Carla Criswell from Jefferson County. I knew my love for teaching came from elementary, when I was in elementary school, and the teachers that I had in school. I just love the way that they poured into us, challenged us. And so that really made me want to become a teacher. When I got to high school, though, I thought I was going to be a doctor. And then my political science teacher, Mr. Skillern, was like, no, you're going to be a teacher. Like, he saw something in me about education. So, and all my classmates around was like, no, Carla, you're definitely going to be a teacher. Like, we can tell that you love kids and you're passionate and you're so smart. So you're definitely going to be a teacher. So I've known since a young age, but I got affirmation in high school. And so from there, I took off, and now I'm in year 20.
That's so important that someone invited you into the profession. That is really, really important. I love that. Oh, Corey, this is good. Honestly, I didn't love high school, but I had two teachers who truly helped change my life for the better. And I decided I would be a teacher so I could be like them. And we do hear answers like that pretty often, like they had a bad experience and they didn't want it to be that way for other kids. They wanted to change the way schools work. So I love that too.
This is Wendy Young. I did know that I wanted to become a teacher because as a kid, I would always play school. I taught my brother how to read. And then in the community, when we would play outside, I was like a cheerleading coach, which I did that later as well. So I always worked with younger kids and just, I think teaching just became natural for me.
All right, so we've got a couple that kind of had some later in life moments. Kristen says, I became a teacher for my second career. I became a single parent and needed to be on the same schedule as my son. And I became a substitute teacher first and loved it. So I went through the MAT program and have not looked back for 20 years. Yep, we hear that often, like just testing the waters and you find out this is perfect and you never thought about it before. So it's great. Amber says, I swore I would never be one, but I was in the workforce in the corporate world and I wanted to make a more direct impact on the world and the lives of others than what I was. So she completed her MAT and now she teaches a subject, math, I think, that she swore she would never teach in a career she would never be in. And so after the first year, I wanted to be the math teacher I didn't ever really get to have. Yes, absolutely. Brooke says, I knew from the time I was in elementary school, my twin was going to college for a different major, and I went for elementary education. She changed her major with me, and now we're both teachers. I love it. Chad Davidson was a second generation teacher. It's in his blood, and he still loves it after 20 years. So yeah, those are very, very, we hear a lot of those same trends. Like my mom was a teacher, my grandma was a teacher. It's all I've ever thought I wanted to be. We hear that. And then we hear from folks who are like, didn't think I was going to do this. And then I got out into my profession and decided, no, I love kids and teaching and want to change the world. So, yep, you guys are right on trend with all of that. So, good answers. Let's look at the third question. What is something you wish people in your community knew about teaching in your school?
This is Megan Hall from Letcher County. What I wish that parents or guardians knew is the obstacles that our kids have to overcome to ever even like understand what it means to read or do math, because their basic needs aren't met. I have a fifth grader and he doesn't have power or water and it's 20 degrees outside. And so before he is ever in the classroom to learn to read or get what he needs, we're making sure he gets a warm bath and he's clean. We're making sure that he has clean clothes. He's fed. So I think that for me is the biggest thing, because I think parents sometimes get upset that we don't have time for a phone call or we're not doing this. But when I have a kid who hasn't had a warm meal since last Friday and needs a bath, that's my primary concern, and the rest will come later. So just the amount of kids who don't have their basic needs met before we can ever even address reading. And another instance with this same kid, he is legally blind and had glasses from Goodwill. So now he's visually 2 years behind in development. So it just meeting those basic needs before I can ever even instruct in the classroom is what I wish that not only people in our community, but in the educational community to
Yes.
know or knows.
And how deep those needs were.
Yeah. And it's, oftentimes generational. And so to want to instill like breaking that generational curse or knowing better or doing better and seeing better and just investing in those kids to break that curse.
So Chad says he wants, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You were first.
What Chad says, he wants people to understand we only get paid for 10 months out of the year, which is a very big misconception. When we tell people this, they never realize that the salary is based on 10 months and not a full year, and you're not getting paid when you don't work. You just are getting paid for the time that you already worked. And number of students that come to school hungry every Monday. I think that is, yeah, I agree. I think a lot of folks just don't see that in their own lives and don't recognize it. Right. So go ahead, Wendy.
Okay, and just adding on to what you just said and then what Megan just said, I work in a school that's 70% Hispanic, so most of my students have a second language. And when the community would write things in the newspaper to say, wow, I can't believe that, 50% of the whole district can't read or whatever. I don't think they realize that, first of all, that is one test that we are taking, and it's narrow, and they don't see exactly what we see. They don't see that a child couldn't read and now is beginning to read. They're not going to be proficient by the end of the year if they're still learning how to read. They don't see the growth. They don't see that we're teaching students to have social skills, to be able to be thankful or to learn how to work with other people. That is not in the test. So when people get upset and say, oh my gosh, you're graduating kids and you're pushing them out of the community, they have no idea where these children or students have come from and what we have done for them within a school year or within 12 to 13 school years.
Mm-hmm. So Amber put in the chat, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, but also the most rewarding. The obstacles that kids have to truly overcome and how that can be our priority at times instead of the other things. And that all kids can and should be held to high standards, and they will rise to that or fall to what we let them. And Corey says, I teach elementary, and community members who don't have a child at that level don't understand the lack of parental support. So many students are living with grandparents or other family members and not receiving the care or the support that they need. I don't think that the outside world understands the deck that's stacked against a lot of kids.
And I was going to add, I teach in an alternative setting, and in our community, sometimes people feel like that those students should just be in our building and stay there, never return to comprehensive or traditional learning environments. And so I stress the importance of our setting is a reset and refocus for them. And they are still students, and they still deserve to have the best education from the best educators. Just because they made a mistake doesn't mean that they should not have access to curriculum and instruction that all students have.
Absolutely right. Okay, let's look at question number 4. Oh, I love this one too. What's a moment that you'll never forget from your classroom?
Hey, I just want to interject really quickly, guys, and remind everybody, all of our TAC friends, please make certain that you have your cameras on. We need to make sure that all TAC members have their camera on during the entire session of the meeting. So please enable your cameras if you have not already done so. I can't see everyone, but I just want to make sure that we get that quick reminder in there. Thank you. So,
Okay,
what's
so
a
while you
moment you'll
guys are
never
thinking about question 4, Kristen in the chat said, I wish the community could see all the life skills we have to teach students because they're not being taught at home. Yeah.
I think for me, a moment I'll never forget is our first day back after the historical flood in 2022, when we finally got to go back to school in October, mid-October, and we were up at the high school, and just getting to see the kids get to be back together and to hear the stories and really like reunite. I think that for me was probably the hardest but most rewarding day of my career.
And that's not something you can measure on a test. Just really powerful. Anybody else have a question for answer for us?
My school community, they were hit by a tornado a couple of years ago, and just having to teach through that, but just the sense of community and belonging that like all the school and the kids had with each other was just amazing that year, and just to see how meaningful it was for everybody. I mean, the school, because it impacted the community right next to the school, because like off that night, like all the students were flooding to the school with their families because they found that was the safest place for them. So it was just
I like that. Anyone else with question 4? Oh, Emmanuel says a moment he'll never forget from his Spanish classrooms are the real world connections that students make with other countries through teleconferences, Zoom, etc. Yeah, that's really, really cool. Especially, kids who maybe don't see outside of their community very often. That's a real eye opener for them. Corey says teaching a small group reading, and all of a sudden a student screams out in shock. Of course, I stop and ask what they're doing and ask if they're okay. And they say, I can read this. I'm by myself. I don't remember moments. Yes, yes. And Emmanuel clarifies that he's in a Title I school in Eastern Kentucky. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a Title I school in Eastern Kentucky, and having opportunities to see outside of my little community was always important. Amber says, loving my students the day after the death of a classmate who took his own life. Oh, that's so hard. And holding them while they cried. Teaching students with a baby on my hip the first year so she could take notes in class with us. Oh, so many memories. I'm getting all weepy there. So those are so good, so powerful. Anybody else with question 4? We'll go on to 5. If you could tell that future teacher in your classroom one thing, what would it be?
Don't fire off an email when you're mad. Please make sure you proofread everything. There you go.
That's very important. Yes. Let them know you care every single day because you may be the only one that they hear it from. That's from Amber. I like that too.
Oh, another thing is don't reply all, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Kristen
says it's not an easy profession, but it will be the most rewarding thing that they'll ever do. Yeah, for sure.
I would tell that future teacher that your students will need you and your own unique individual talents, and that you are in whatever classroom you are in with those students for a reason, and that they need you and not for you to pretend to be the teacher down the hall or something else.
True. Very good.
Take that day off. I know a lot of teachers feel guilty when we're not in the classroom making sub plans, but I think it's very important that we take care of ourselves and don't feel bad for taking a day off.
Took me a long time to learn that in my classroom. Yeah, I agree. Wendy says it takes 3 to 5 years to begin to learn this profession. Don't quit. I'm in year 29 and I'm still learning. Absolutely. Absolutely. I sometimes want to call my students from the first 2 years and be like, I'm sorry, guys. I know better now. But I actually did see one of my students and say that she was in my first class, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was kind of a disaster. And she's like, no, it was so much fun. And I was like, oh, so you don't remember it the way I do. So that's great. They do. They see you and they love you. Any more answers for question 5? Brooke says, find your tribe and don't spend your time around negative people. It's contagious. Mandy says, focus on one good thing that happens each day. Don't let the negativity win or take over your thoughts. Teachers are called to this profession and you are where you need to be. Yes. Really good advice. We'll go on to question 6. What do you look forward to when you come to work each day?
After our moment of silence, I sing a little morning song, and then my kids give me a group hug. So every morning I look forward to that group hug.
And to support that, Mandy says she looks forward to my kids. Chad says connecting with his students. So yeah, that's why we love it. Just getting to connect with my students and talk about daily life events that they're excited about. And that's from Nick. Anybody else with anything for question 6? All right, let's look at question 7. What aspect of the job would you like to change to make it more satisfying if you could?
More support for those students who need it most, and obviously, more money. But if I could get more support, that would be worth not having.
That is a common answer.
Just let me teach. Stop throwing new initiatives that have a different name that we tried 10 years ago, and we're trying it again. Just get out of my way. Let me teach. And as a choir teacher, every 9 weeks we have a concert. There is no question what I've been doing in the classroom. All you got to do is show up at the concert. So just leave me alone, let me teach, and you will see the success.
We see that a lot, especially from veteran teachers, like trust my professional knowledge. I know what I'm doing. Let me do it. So yeah, that's definitely what a lot of people hear. And it says the way I believe is best. Corey says more people in the trenches, and Nick says less politics and feel good initiatives. So I think we all kind of are saying the same thing, like let us get to work and do it. So yeah. What else would you like to change? More time, Amber says, more time to analyze the data, plan, meet with students, and all the things that she needs to do. Yeah.
I would like for people who have not been in education to not make the laws and policies that affect our jobs.
Right.
I also think less testing. Just this season, having to do interim assessments on social studies and writing, that takes 2 full days of an instruction. With MAP, I just feel like I'm drowning in interim assessments, and I get going, and then by the time I'm going, then it's time to stop and do another interim assessment. So I think that is a huge impact. And also, like we've said earlier, that doesn't really measure what my students are learning or overcoming, but it is hard when you are constantly testing and not teaching.
Kristen says, if we do get an new initiative, let us have time to get it to work. And it does take time. It's not just an instant, nothing is an instant fix. Anything else on question 7? A test shows how well a student can take a test. Yeah, Chad, you are not wrong. And Joseph Stivers says his camera's not working and he's juggling NTI today, but he says for question 7, he needs more time to focus on his lower achieving students. and they just are packed with everything else to do, and there's just not enough time in the day. Megan says a math test that doesn't assess what reading. Oh, that's an interesting novel concept, right? Test what you're testing. Interesting. Good answers. Let's look at question number 8. What is a support that your leadership team or administration could provide to make this, your school, the best place to work?
My school has great support and wraparound services for our students, especially being an alternative setting. But I have heard other teachers wish that they would have more time to actually work in their rooms. Like they feel like they're always being pulled for meetings and things like that, and they don't actually get protected time to actually do what they need to do to make their classroom better and work.
I think if we were playing Family Feud, that would probably be the number one answer that we hear, that protect our time. What else do you think would be one support that your leadership team or administration could provide you that would make it the best place to work? Or if you already work in the best place, what is that one thing that makes it so much better? Chad says we need more resources, more funding, more RTI options for students, and use retired teachers. They know what they're doing. More time to reflect and plan, not doing PLCs each week.
Amen to that. We need more meaningful professional development, not just a checkbox and say we did it, but something that we can use immediately in our classroom. And after the professional development, someone there to support whatever the initiative is or whatever the skill is that we were learning.
Yeah, I love the RTI. I feel like we're constantly told it's the most important time of the day, but all we do is shuffle kids around. Like there's no small group because there's not enough of us. So it becomes study hall because it's hard. You can't small group with the 20 kids, so we might as well just continue on with class time at that point, I think. And it would be more beneficial if we could take out RTI and add 15 more minutes to class. And we could use that time as small group with the kids instead of just shuffling them around, because that eats up 8 minutes trying to get the kids where they need to go.
Yeah. Amber says her admin does a phenomenal job of supporting our teachers with student behavior problems. We hear that one a lot, and for that she's thankful. Mandy says if something new is added on, make sure you take something else off the plate. Yes. Corey says less contentious staff meetings. Not everything we need to meet about is a contentious topic. My mantra is tell me what to do, and I promise I'll give it 110%. Yes. Good stuff. Anything else on question 8? All right, the next slide then. So what do you guys think about this? Do you see the value in collecting this information? How would you like to see this data?
I think this information is great, but if we can actually produce the resources and the oomph behind it, I think it would be great. But if not, then I feel like it's just another survey that we do that, kind of like the impact survey that you can just lay it out all on the table, but nothing really changes. So I've just spent 30 minutes of my day giving information to somebody who's didn't really do anything with it. So I think though, and I know that involves like the government and all these additional things, but I think attempts to actually remedy the situations and like evidence to support that and what is being done would be super nice to see.
I just say amen to that. And this should go to legislators who are making changes in our profession. But I would definitely like to see things changed, just as you said.
So an
Okay, a
exciting
few
thing
comment-
that we
Yeah,
can
go ahead,
share.
Dr.
Oh, no, I was going to say, exciting thing we can share. So this effort is part of a larger initiative that the Education Professional Standards Board and the Kentucky Board of Education have engaged in, where we're having something we're calling a research practice collaborative. And so members of both boards, as well as constituents from the education community, will be engaging with some research questions that have been identified around teacher attrition, working conditions, and sort of what are the elements that could be replicated to sort of improve the conditions for teachers. And so we do have our chair of the EPSV on to give you an update here in a few minutes, but just want to say we hear you, and that our hope is that those two bodies that do have administrative authority to implement changes can bring forward some recommendations based on this research and other research we're doing in this space, so that you can hopefully see change being driven as a part of your contributions. So totally appreciate that a survey for survey's sake is insufficient. So we do hope that the recommendations that emerge from the group can also be shared with the General Assembly. We want to see policy change because it's needed.
So we have a few more things in the chat that I will add, and then we will wrap up. So regarding question 8, Kristen says, the admin changed the schedule this year to support RTI, and it's working great. So she's in a middle school that has 8 periods, with 2 of them being RTI support. I think that responsiveness to need. Chad says there's value in getting this information, but we have to make sure that admin, especially at central office, see the need and are willing to make the changes to facilitate, are willing to make the changes necessary to facilitate it. And Amber talks a little bit about the initiative being part of the research collaborative. And then Mandy talks about the Coalition for Sustaining the Profession, and she served on that. And they sent a survey out to teachers and compiled the data and sent that information to the legislators. So yeah, we on the research collaborative part, kind of part of our goal is to triangulate all that data and say, put it in big flashing red letters. Like, here's what teachers are saying, and we need you to hear this loud and clear. So yeah, and Amber would like for Mandy to send that data over to Dr. Brewer if she doesn't already have it. So I appreciate you all so much. I think the next slide just is a wrap up. Oh, any ways that we can improve the process. I think we've kind of hit on that. So if you have questions about this, you can talk to me, send me an email, pop off mute and ask. But I just really appreciate your vulnerability and your openness today, and I love your answers. And I think this reminds me of why I do what I do, and you guys are reminded again of what you do, the importance of it. So I just appreciate it. And if there's nothing else, I will let the next agenda item take over.
Thank you, Ellie, so much for sharing that initiative with us. We certainly do appreciate it. And thank you all on the TAC for being so open and having great communication and really just sharing, I guess, a lot of productive and powerful information from your schools with us today. So thank you all. And thank you, Ellie, again. All right, we welcome now our EPSB Chair, Amber Snell from Madison County Public Schools. And we're so honored to have you. So please, without further ado, let's get an update on EPSB.
You're on mute.
Thank you. I was like, I'm trying earbuds, so tell me if you can't hear me. I'm so sorry. Thanks for letting me join in the conversation. I, at one point realized, I'm here as a presenter, not as somebody on this committee, and I probably shouldn't be throwing my 2 cents in, but I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Like she said, my name is Amber Snell, and in addition to being a high school math teacher in Madison County, I'm the chair of the Educational Professional Standards Board. The EPSB, in full collaboration and cooperation with its education partners, promotes high levels of student achievement by establishing and enforcing rigorous professional standards for preparation, certification, and responsible and ethical behavior of all professional educators in Kentucky. That is our mission statement and kind of what we read at the beginning of every meeting and hold all of ourselves to and what we focus on each and every meeting. We meet about every 3 weeks, and our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 16th. Our meeting materials are available on the KSBA meeting portal, and past meetings are recorded and archived on the KDE media portal. One of the reasons why we meet every 3 weeks, just to let you know, is, and Cassie or Meredith will probably have to jump in and tell you officially, but I think it was House Bill 300 that passed a couple of years ago. Meredith's giving me a head shake. So we did previously meet only every 2 months, but our board members now meet every 3 weeks so that we can ensure that any educator misconduct cases are not dismissed due to the timelines that are now enforceable because of House Bill 300. So it is a giant ask and lift of our board, and we all value the work that we do, and so spend that time together every 3 weeks. The EPSB recently approved the legislative priorities for the 2026 legislative session. These priorities include supporting the efforts to promote ethical behavior among all educators to ensure student safety and well-being. While issues surrounding educator misconduct and discipline can often garner public attention, as we all see in the news every day, it's important to note that the majority of educators in Kentucky and the Commonwealth are good and ethical individuals who will never have a case before EPSB. And the only reason why that they know about EPSB is because of their certification. The EPSB supports funding for mentoring and induction to ensure that all new teachers and principals participate in high quality induction into the profession. Our priorities also include financial incentives that promote entry to and growth within the profession, including competitive teacher salaries and expanded scholarship opportunities. We support efforts to elevate the profession and provide the support, incentives, and respect of the workforce, other workforce areas. Finally, the legislative priorities include a few areas of statutory cleanup, such as revisions to KRS 160145, also known as Senate Bill 181 from the 2025 legislative session, to remove some of the unintended consequences. I'm happy to report that EPSB has approved participation in the Research Practice Collaborative with the Kentucky Board of Education. This joint initiative between the EPSB and KDE will work to better understand and support Kentucky's educator workforce, with a particular focus on factors influencing educator retention and the role of vibrant learning experiences and environments in promoting teacher satisfaction and career persistence. Multiple members of our board have volunteered to join the small groups, focusing on the individual research questions. And I'm excited for this work to get underway, especially kind of hearing and previewing some of the questions today, and hearing why all of you amazing educators are in the field and remaining in the field. So thank you guys so very much for the opportunity to join you this morning. I'm seeing some questions popping in that I don't know that I know all of the answers to, but I believe Dr. Brewer or Cassie may know some of the answers too. So thank you all so very much, and I'm happy to entertain any questions I can. Kristen, I see that, just one of the things that you're talking about, knowing about the wonderful teachers that are out there, that's one of the things that we talk a lot about, especially because we do see the dark side of things. And that's just kind of going on the offensive and promoting how amazing our profession is and can be. And I think that's one of the things that I do love about the Go Teach ambassadors and the marketing campaign that has come from that. There's so many wonderful stories that we need to share. And so that's really been one of the things that we have talked about, that we want to continue to work to elevate the profession. And I think Dr. Brewer's done a phenomenal job of helping us build kind of that marketing side of things to say, hey, these are all the great things that we are doing and our profession does do. So that's definitely on our radar as well.
Well, and Chair Snell, thank you for saying that. It is the amazing team in the Division of Educator Recruitment and Development that lead the charge on Go Teach Every Day. And just this week, they were able to visit some schools for our KEEP Awards. And I put the media release in the chat, but Ellie might be able to speak to sort of some of the fanfare that associated that celebration this week. So we were identifying exemplary educators and got to go to their schools. Ellie, anything you want to speak to on that?
Oh, it's just like, it's honestly the most fun because you go into their classrooms and the kids are so excited and they're so like, fascinated that their teacher is getting an award. And the teachers, of course, are just, overwhelmed with that. So it's just wonderful. And we love to go visit schools and give out t-shirts. And they're like, we give them t-shirts and pins and things and just say thank you for being a teacher. And they're like, you recognize us, you see us. And it's wonderful. And we try to tell all the great stories. I agree. There's so much negative and we're pushing that back. So follow us, share our posts.
And then Wendy, I see your question about scholarships. Are you asking if the Professional Standards Board has any scholarships or if we know of any scholarships for doctoral students?
Either way.
So unfortunately, the Standards Board does not have any scholarship opportunities, but there are some scholarships that we have listed on the Go Teach website, some sort of financial support for educators that I will share with you. And then also just ask that Justin takes a note so that we can follow up with you and see if we have any other resources we can share.
Thank you.
Hearing nothing else, I so appreciate my time with you all this morning. And thank you for all of the work that you all are doing.
Thank you, Amber. We appreciate you and we appreciate the work of the EPSB and so grateful to have you here this morning and sharing those important updates for us. So thank you. All right, we'll move on then and go on to agenda item number 7, and that is with an update for the Kentucky Board of Education with Alfonso de Torres Nunez, and he is a KBE member from Jefferson County Public Schools. So welcome, Alfonso. We are so grateful to have you here today. Maybe. Justin, have we heard from Alfonso?
I haven't heard from him today, but when I spoke to him yesterday, he said that he should be here. If you want, we can jump over him and then come back to him.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. And hopefully he'll be able to hop on. He may be at a different thing and maybe just not maybe a little tardy. That's okay. We give grace to our students. We'll give grace to Alfonso. So welcome, Todd Davis. Is Todd on?
I am.
Hey, Todd. He is the director of the Office of Educator Licensure and Effectiveness. And we know you have had a lot going on. So thank you so much for being here. And we'll let you share.
Thanks, Melody. And you would know because you're part of the group we're getting ready to talk about. So appreciate your time and efforts in that adventure. So, and it is indeed an adventure. So thanks for allowing me to talk today. Just wanted to provide an update on some other exciting news that's going on with associated with EPSB. We're have begun to look at our certification structure over the last year or so, and looking at potential grade band changes within our credentials, but then also expanding that on other things that impact those permissions. And so if you'll go to the next slide, please. So about a year ago, we established a certification structure work group, as that group, as I mentioned, that Melanie's part of. And this is a large stakeholder group, over 30 participants that make up several K groups with from our school counselors, principals, superintendents, higher education from CPE, also our partners in the ed prep world, KEA representatives, as well as some of our cooperatives, our human resource directors, and we actually have 3 sitting legislators that are involved in this work group as well. And initially we were charged with reviewing our structure associated with the grade bands and how that impacts our instruction and the permissions associated with those credentials. Next slide, please. And so last June, we presented a recommendation as a group to the EPSB to consider these grade band changes. While slight, we did make some recommendations that they consider adjusting these grade bands, and we'll run through those real quick. Pre-K, that was one that with the interdisciplinary standards and early childhood standards, adding elementary standards to it seemed a little bit of a challenge. And so we chose to keep the pre-K kindergarten the same. However, we did make a recommendation that we provide an opportunity for an endorsement to add grades 1 through 3 for those teachers, which also aligns with our initiatives around the early literacy and numeracy efforts as well. For elementary, as some of you may be aware, the grade K, currently K5. However, there was some caveats where grade 6 could be taught if it was in the same building as 5th grade, or if it was a self-contained classroom. And so after a lot of discussion, the board or the work group decided to recommend expanding that to a full-time K6 grade band. And then in middle school and high school as well, you'll see that each of those expanded by 1 grade level. Middle school, we recommended expanding down to grade 4. And what that would allow is to permit middle school teachers to teach content-specific courses for elementary settings where they departmentalize. So if you're a middle school science teacher, you would be allowed to teach elementary science courses in grades 4 and 5. And 6 as well, if that grade band's accepted. So again, content specific, but most elementaries departmentalize when it comes to the subject areas at that grade point. And then for secondary, again, just 1 grade band, expanding down to grade 7. This was a very similar approach to what we consider with elementary or middle school for elementary, but specifically our math courses are starting to expand down to grades 8 and the mention of grade 7, where algebra 1 and geometry are being taught at those grade levels. And so then allowing a high school teacher to teach that same content again in that specific area to those grades. So expanding grades 7 through 12. So that was our recommendation to the board on the grade bands themselves. And then they will make a decision on that at some point in time in the hopefully near future after we are able to make another recommendation, which is where we're going to explore today. So next slide, please. So as we move forward, a big concern, and it was the group was very vocal that the content areas, there were some challenges around it as well. So part of the discussion with this work group was to explore, is it a permissions issue? Is it a grade band issue? And they were able to determine that there was a mix of both. So we settled on the grade bands first. And now we're starting to delve into the content areas. Next slide, please. So there are 3 particular areas or contents that, or credentials that seem to have more barriers than others with the teacher shortages, finding qualified applicants, and so forth. And we'll talk about each of those, but they're the sciences, specifically the high school sciences, special education for LBD and MSD specifically, and then also with math, but there's some different things for each one that causes the barrier. So we'll we'll talk briefly about those towards the end. So this slide here was provided through a research project that NCTQ put out back in 2017. And you can see this reflects that this has been a challenge for nationwide for quite some time. So we're going back all the way to 2017 for this research. Tennessee is very similar to Kentucky, specifically around the sciences, where you have to specialize or major in that content area in order to teach that content. However, Colorado has a little bit more friendlier approach, I guess. They have a general science where all four of their science contents can be taught by the same teacher. So the biology, chemistry, physics, as well as earth science. And then next slide, please. And so as we look nationwide, again, this slide's provided by NCTQ in that same project. There are over 30 states that offer a general type of certification for science. The challenge is trying to figure out which or how they actually operate in practice with that general science. So some are limited. We'll talk specifically about West Virginia here in a minute, how that varies from also another state that we'll talk about, our neighboring states, which operates completely different from a different approach. But again, 30 states out of the 50 have some type of general science certificate to where there's a little bit more flexibility and overlap when it comes to that content. Next slide, please. So just as a reminder, and I'm sure you're well aware of this as Kentucky teachers, but our sciences are, again, very specific. You have to have a major in chemistry, physics, biology, or earth science in order to teach those contents. There is a little bit of overlap with the earth science and the other contents, but they are extremely limited compared to some of the states that allow more flexibility. Our special education, this one is extremely challenging for us with as far as finding qualified applicants. LBD tends to be more frequent as far as being able to find more applicants or going into an alternative pathway than MSD. And so this may be the first year, I think, that we're getting ready to report that special education is not a statewide shortage. However, the majority of the areas are. But again, this brings different challenges in the fact that we have many different types of federal requirements as well as state requirements in law that we have to consider, but then also the difference in the moderate to severe standards versus the learning behavior disorder standards. And so preparation, what that would involve, and but then some other things that we'll discuss at the end that could impact that as well. And then math, as I mentioned earlier, math is a little bit different as well, different from the other two. And the conversation around the mathematics is more around the permission-based approach. And that's the middle school teacher can teach grades 5 through 9, but they can teach ninth graders Algebra 1 and geometry. But that same content that's considered freshman level courses per se when it comes to graduation requirements, the content doesn't change for a 10th, 11th, or 12th grader, but they don't have permissions to teach them. So the conversation has been, do we need to expand those permissions while they're teaching that content specific the grade level content specific information to those students regardless of what grade they are? So a little bit different approach, and so it's been a very interesting conversation. Next slide, please. So talking about some of our neighbors, West Virginia, they're very similar to us when it comes to the sciences. However, they do allow a general science. This one is more limited with it essentially equates to 1 to 2 maybe foundational courses at the science level where there's overlap, but they tend to teach that at the 9th grade level. And so theirs is a little bit more limited, but very similar to ours. Their special education actually breaks out into more categories than what we do here in Kentucky. They have specific autism certification, and then their emotional behavior, that's very similar to our LBD, developmentally delayed. They do have a multi-categorical, which excludes autism. So that is a combination. Essentially, it would equate to our LBD and MSD combination, but then autism with the expansion or the awareness that's been increased around autism and the variance of levels that students needs need to be addressed. And then math, they are a little bit more specific with their math. So they approach that in a similar way to the sciences, where they have specific Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and geometry certifications, but then also their comprehensive math, which is more of the high school math, like we have, where it allows them to teach those higher level courses. Next slide, please. So our neighbors to the south, almost identical to what we do in several aspects. The sciences are very specialized, as we do the same. Their special education is similar to ours, but they do break theirs up into a K-8 and a 6-12 when it comes to their what we would consider LBD. But then they have the specialized comprehensive that is more considered or considered more for those more intense or severe disabilities. And so while it doesn't have the same title, they operate similarly, but do have the separate K-8 and 6-12. And then their math, again, very similar to ours. They do have one extra grade band where it goes down to 6 from what we've recommended, but that creates some overlap for them. But then otherwise, that is very common or very aligned with what we do here in Kentucky. Next slide, please. And the last one we'll talk about is Illinois. Their sciences on paper look very similar to ours, and Tennessee as well. However, the difference is while they may specialize in those areas, they do allow the permission for them to teach all the content. So if I'm a biology teacher, I can teach chemistry, physics, their environmental science, or earth space science. Those overlap for any science content. So they approached it through the permissions rather than through the credential. And then their special education, they approach it in a similar way that we do with the, we have the levels of moderate to severe versus the learning behavior disorders, but then theirs is, again, it's done in levels with the LBS 1, and then they specialize for those moderate to what we would consider moderate to severe. So they have specialists in each of those areas. So each of those bring challenges in those states as well. But so this is a common topic across states currently, and how to adjust some things that we may be able to help with the teacher shortage, but ultimately not jeopardizing the profession as well. So next slide, please. So as we go into our work, we're seeking feedback and from the field. We're meeting with principals, superintendents, HR directors, all of those involved. We're getting input directly from teachers in these areas to see how it impacts or could impact them, but also things that we really need to consider because of the unintended consequences. What looks good on paper doesn't always play out as favorably when we're if we were to go that route. So the things we're considering is the preparation. We have to think about what this looks like when institutions are trying to prepare our new teachers. So things we can consider, the content specific majors, and what that would look like is a maybe a general science major with a focus or concentration in chemistry or biology, one of the specifics, to where it allowed them to teach multiple contents, but then they could specialize in one specific content if they wanted, or multiple, that which would allow them to also qualify for those master's programs that allow them to teach the AP dual credit type courses. Dual credit majors or dual majors themselves, how they could approach those, create the instruction through or the courses, create overlap so that they can eliminate courses or double dip, so to speak, to prepare for more than one major, rather than taking multiple courses, try to combine those courses together. And then minors have come up as well. Back in the day, Kentucky used to recognize a minor and allow certification for that. So is that something that we need to consider, and what is the impact of that? The certification side, comprehensive versus specialized. Again, that you could see from the beginning, that's the issue with specifically with the sciences. And do we need to focus on that? It has come up with special education. Again, a lot of different things to consider with the federal and state laws, but then also just the difference in standards and what that would cause and impact the preparation programs. But then ultimately our students as well. So we don't want to jeopardize their needs and the services they receive. Permissions. So again, is this a permissions issue or is this a credential issue? Looking at courses, all things considered, again, going back to the math conversation, if it is considered one grade level specifically for that or designed for that around the standards, could we look at permissions a little bit differently if that person is qualified to teach that grade level? So maybe expanding that. But then also what we have to consider there is, with the math content is very, the standards and courses are very sequential. The sciences tend to have a great deal more of overlap and not sequential. So that creates challenges around that. And so what's the best fit? And then future impact. What are those consequences, the negative or positive? So we need to look at all things. Teacher performance. Are you prepared? Do you feel comfortable teaching multiple contents specifically? Social studies teachers at the high school level prepare for multiple contents. And that is common across all the others. And the sciences are the only one right now that specifically is centered around those specific major areas. So how does that impact the field as far as high school science teachers? Student performance, are they going to receive, because of the teacher's knowledge, are they going to receive the information appropriately? Are they going to receive quality instruction based on their content knowledge? And then also the culture. So we have to consider from a perspective of special education. If I'm an LBD teacher and we go to a comprehensive approach, then that could potentially force me to teach MSD settings in that setting and potentially have a negative effect or impact on my career. Would that cause me to leave the district, or would that cause me to leave the profession? From a preparation standpoint, if it's combined, does that drive me away from the field of teaching as well, because I don't necessarily want to work in one setting versus another? So don't want to have that negative impact that could come about, but then also create some challenges with the culture as well. So these are several things that we look at. It is not limited to this, so we're open to looking at all things that need to be considered. Next slide, please. And so we're seeking feedback and suggestions. And so I know specifically that this group may or may not be impacted through this conversation, but it's not limited to these three contents as well. So right now, those are the three areas that we seem to have more feedback on. And so those are the main discussions currently. but are there other contents we need to consider, other permissions we need to consider? Because we want to address all as we go into this work. So that's where we are right now. We have a goal where the work group will meet again in January, towards the end of January, and we're collecting and gathering all this feedback and suggestions from the field, and going to take that into consideration as we restart our work again later next month. And so your feedback or your colleagues is critical. So please, if you have questions or concerns or suggestions, my contact information is here. Sharon Salzman is our assistant director in our division as well, and involved in this work. So please reach out to us and share anything that you have, even if it's a challenge, because we have to consider all those things as we move forward as well. So that's where our certification work group is at this point. I do want to open it up for any questions, or if you have some feedback, willing to listen to that as well. So Alfonso.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I know that looks very bad because I am the last one to come to the meeting, but you opened the question thought about this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use this as a segue for Emmanuel to perhaps talk about this a little bit. You mentioned you are looking at other content areas. I'm curious about world languages, and I'm curious about multilingual learners.
So it has not been eliminated from the conversation in any form or fashion, but we've not talked specifically about them at this point. And that's why we're gathering feedback to see what contents we do need to discuss. So I do know there are challenges with world language, but then what we have to start with is the barriers. What are those challenges? And then how can we best approach those? So any feedback, and I know that's your area of expertise, and we've had some time to work together over the years. So anything that you can share other than, well, not other than, just any feedback that you can provide, then that will give us those platforms to have those conversations as well. So
I think Emmanuel has his hand up, virtual hand up.
I'm sorry?
I think Emmanuel would like to talk.
Oh, okay. Emmanuel?
Yeah, thank you guys there. So I like the aspect there. This has always been kind of a, I don't want to say it's not really a pet peeve, sometimes we'll get through a whole entire bachelor's degree or whatever certification in Spanish, for example, and the teachers who are entering may have little or very minimal or not as well, not as high of a proficiency level as they might like to have or should have for the teaching classroom setting there. I know there's a very good measurement referred to as the ACTFL OPI, which stands for the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages Oral Proficiency Interview. And that really is a really good measure, especially when it's done in live time. They have a recorded version, but the live one and like a real interaction actually goes through like a real live telephone call, basically, someone in at ACTFL's OPI office, and they actually are able to thoroughly do a whole analysis assessment in Spanish. And so there's no question by the time you finish that, that person is able to at least have a functional level of Spanish that would be useful for the classroom setting. I know some states or some areas, for example, the second master's program that I did through Southern Oregon University with all the classes held in Mexico over the course of several years there, they actually required an ACTFL low proficiency. And that was just, normal conversation that a teacher should have in the classroom. So that really would be another one. There's some other assessments out there too, but I know some of those are very familiar, and it really is kind of sad to get into a classroom and the teacher will not really be able to speak Spanish. So that's one of the reasons. I don't know if that was what Alfonso was kind of leaning toward there, but that's really known a lot. And we have a new teacher from Spain. She's amazing. She's through the KDE Embassy of Spain program, and she's just wonderful. But she was even noticing that too when we was talking with some teachers in their areas. So Now, that's something to keep in mind. How could that potentially be used in addition to or instead of the practices for Spanish, for example? And I know there's somewhat of an issue sometimes with passing the practices for Spanish, especially if it's a second language learner and so forth. But that actually would be another potential option that could lead toward proficiency, or maybe life experiences and so forth that are proved by proficiency analysis. For example, I did my bachelor's in Spanish within minor in international studies at Moorhead. And then I got my, I went and lived in Ecuador 2.5 years doing volunteer missionary work. And in my undergrad, I also studied abroad and so forth. And I will say that living abroad really is what really pushed me to the proficiency level in Spanish that I needed for the classroom and so forth. And that could have been assessed potentially by an actual proficiency exam. I know sometimes with our students who have had um, lots of experiences with international experiences, what have you, if they can pass the test. I know there's Kentucky state law that allows that to work with one of the substitutions for their foreign or world languages requirements in some ways in certain settings and so forth. But that could be a potential option that we're thinking about too, from the educator certification standpoint. If the individual is actually able to have that proficiency, demonstrate that through the OPI, for example, or a proficiency interview from ACFL, or any of those, that might be a viable option that we should definitely consider when it comes to teacher certification and proving their proficiency in the language.
So if I may add up, if I may piggyback on what Emmanuel was saying, Todd, to give you this idea on this specific content area like world languages, the praxis is a type of assessing measure that what it measures is not necessarily the proficiency of the individual in the language. It rather measures the knowledge of the individual of the language itself, which doesn't
Correct.
necessarily mean that they can speak it. So when they pass it, because they know enough of the language to pass it, it happens what Emmanuel was saying before. Kentucky classrooms, they are receiving teachers who are not proficient in the language, which doesn't make any sense, because if the state standards are actually geared around proficiency and performance, why would you put professionals in classrooms that are not proficient in the language that they should be certified at? So to give you perhaps a few pointers, if you allow the time, very quickly, there are other states that perhaps KD may be interested in looking at, like for example, Arizona, California, Illinois, which is close, or even Ohio, that other than praxis, they have created their own state measures, and in the absence of a state measure, they have defaulted to one of the proficiency measures that it's used in their seal of biliteracy. The Kentucky is one of the states that has precisely guidelines for seal of biliteracy. It has determined in those guidelines a list of assessments in order to measure the proficiency of an individual. And those states, those are the assessments that are being used in order to certify these teachers, in addition to anything else that the post-secondary education institutions may be requiring, right? But something that, as you mentioned before, about what could we do in other content areas, something for you to think about.
Okay. Yep. Happy to take that back to the group. Appreciate the feedback from you as well as Emmanuel. Any other questions, comments? Use my teacher wait time. So again, one, I appreciate the opportunity to share this exciting work with you. Please reach out to your colleagues if they have any questions, concerns, or comments, anything that they can provide feedback. Please have them contact us directly. Happy to listen and have conversations around any of it and take that back to our larger group as we start to delve back into this work. So again, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for what you do on a daily basis. I've been in multiple careers, and I can honestly say that education is the most rewarding one from in all aspects. So thank you for what you do, and I'll turn it back over to Melanie. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Davis, so much. And we just appreciate you being here. And thank you for sharing this process with us. I know it's a journey, and we are so grateful for your feedback. And thank you for having an open door policy with us so that we can reach out and talk to you as well. So have a great day. Thank you for being here. And with that, we'll turn it now over to Alfonso to give us an update for KBE. Whenever you're ready, Alfonso.
Well, hello. My apologies for joining you all late. I was supposed to be in my school, but today we are on NTI because we have a very lovely day out there with the snow, inches of snow. So in advance, I'm gonna express my apologies because we are a teacher's house in here. My wife is a teacher, I'm a teacher, I have 2 kiddos in elementary school. So if you hear some noise coming from the background, yes, it's me. I'm sorry. I'll try my best to manage this situation at the same time. So thank you for your understanding and patience. So when I talked to Justin about this, I honestly don't know very much. Would you like me to give you an update? But I am happy to share a few things coming from the Kentucky Board of Education. Would you like me to introduce myself first, or what would you like to do?
Yes, go ahead. For those of us who haven't met you prior, go ahead and tell us. I think you and I worked together years ago on a global project. So you go right ahead though and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get started into an update.
Well, the funny story is that I recognize some faces in here in this meeting. So I'm happy to see some of you. And to those of you that I do not know, my name is Alfonso de Torres Nunez. I am a Spanish teacher in Bloom Elementary in Jefferson County Public Schools. And this year, in addition to my job, I am serving as the non-voting teacher member of the Kentucky Board of Education. A little bit of my background. I am a former visiting teacher from Spain. I came to Kentucky precisely through one of the programs that is bringing international teachers to this state. Thanks to a collaboration between the Kentucky Department of Education and the Ministry of Education of Spain. And I started working in Western Kentucky. For 4 years, I was the only Spanish teacher in elementary in the entire Western Kentucky region in Christian County. I learned a lot. It was lonely, but I learned a lot. And then after that, I moved to Jessamine County, where I taught just for a year before I joined the Kentucky Department of Education to be the state supervisor for world languages programs in the entire state of Kentucky. I stayed over there 5 years. One of the best examples of my work over there, I created the guidelines for the seal of biliteracy that are currently available for all the state. And then I returned back to the classroom. I started teaching Spanish in Jefferson County Public Schools in an elementary again. And this summer, I received the news that I was selected to be the non-voting teacher member of the Kentucky Board of Education. And here I am. I've been already 5 months. I have an entire notepad of notes from each of the meetings, which is amazing. And I also have a whole binder of things over here, thanks to many folks in KDE that are so helpful to help and answer my questions, like Meredith Brewer or Todd. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's me. So any questions so far? No? All good? All right. So regarding a few things that I can share with you is that I don't know if you have seen in the, I don't know if you follow the meetings for the Board of Education, but for example, in the last Board of Education meeting, one thing that I would like to share with you or refresh your memory on is precisely that the KBE approved in its October meeting to pursue a collaboration between the Kentucky Board of Education and EPSB, a research practice collaborative. And the purpose of this collaboration is to gather insights from Kentucky education stakeholders on what drives educator retention, why mid-career teachers leave the profession, and also how vibrant classroom learning environments, especially in literacy and numeracy, influence teacher satisfaction and career persistence. Another thing that I can share with you, for example, is in our last meeting last week, Commissioner Fletcher provided an update and a preview of the upcoming 2026 legislative session. So if you want to check on that, I would be more than happy to share the link in here, or I'm sure that Justin can provide a link for you, or if you're interested. And a few other updates pertaining to teachers. Well, I don't know if you saw this, but in our last meeting, the Board of Education, we approved the revisions to the regulation called 704 KAR 3370, which is the one pertaining to Kentucky framework for personnel evaluation, moving the required evaluation period from 3 years to 5 years, so that it could be aligned to the changes that were made in House Bill 48 in 2025. And another thing, in case if you know any teachers in career tech centers in your school districts, the Board of Education approved the 156 salary schedule, which sets the minimum salaries for certified and equivalent staff within Kentucky area technology centers and the KDE's Office of Career and Technical Education Central Office. Those are the bigger updates that I can provide as of right now. I'm checking through my groups right now, but any questions that you may have, anything that I can help with, anything?
Any questions at this time for Alfonso? All right, I think we're all good. Thank you so much for the updates. We appreciate it a ton.
Melanie, if I may add one more thing very quickly. All right.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how it was done in the past, but as the teacher member, I realized that I have an incredible opportunity to showcase the voices of teachers like you all and me. And I know it has taken me a few meetings to understand the works, the way that the Board of Education works. But I'm now at a point in which I would love to showcase good news of us teachers at the Board of Education. My fellow board members, they are always sharing good news, and I'm always there on the side of the board, kind of like taking notes and rejoicing with my fellow board members about the good news. But I would love to share some of those good news too. And I think that my role as the teacher member allows me to do so. So I would like to offer this council the opportunity to, if you want to send my way some good news that you want to share, like stories from your students, your own personal stories of accomplishment or accomplishments for achievements or something, so that I can share in the next Board of Education meeting, because I think there are so many incredible things that you all do in the field, that we all do in the field, that many times go unheard. that we could flood newspapers with this, right? But understanding that we have that specific place in those meetings, I want to bring the voices of the people that uh, I am representing at that board, and I would like to ask this council if it's okay with you, Justin and Melanie, that and I don't know if I am just not following protocol in here, but at least please know if you want to share with me. Sorry, I got cut. Can you hear me now? All right. So yeah, so I was saying that if you wish to send me stories, please do. Please know that you have somebody at the Board of Education that at least can bring up those stories up so that we can celebrate more of your themes. The wall is already full of so much stuff going on about education. Let's try to be lighthouses in the current circumstances where we are. Let's show our students that what they do in our eyes as educators, as teachers, it matters so much that their learning can be so vibrant with what we do. Let's show it off. Let's be proud of that. Let's just share with other people. So with that, if you don't have any other questions, I have two learners in here that are requesting me for NTI stuff.
That's awesome. So yes, if you have any updates about your life or accomplishments, achievements, all the wonderful good things that we have out there and how we can be lighthouses, pass those forward, move it along to Alfonso. And I can't wait to see what he showcases and shares at the KBE. So thank you for the work that you're doing and for the great positive energy that you bring. So
You're
be
welcome.
blessed. Thank you so much.
And especially examples of vibrant learning that is happening in your schools, whether it is world languages, whether it is math, whether it is science, anything that fits within that vibrant learning, showcase it because this is the direction in which we are moving, and our students should be at the front and at the center of all of this, and we can be those channels that we can elevate their voices and put them where they deserve. So thank you so much for inviting me to this meeting, and thank you so much for your patience and your understanding, and thank you so much.
Oh, we're so grateful to you, and you just have a great NTI day with those guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, with that, and so grateful again to Alfonso, we'll move it over to agenda item 9. And I think Justin is going to sort of move forward in an election of a brand new TAC chair.
Yes, thank you, Melanie. So as you've gathered, unfortunately, this is the last meeting where Melanie will be our chair. So we are going to need to elect a new one, and we do have a quorum here today, so we can do that. What I would like to do first is just open the floor to any suggestions for a new chair or volunteers, if anybody is interested.
I'll also say that if you have somebody that you think would be just excellent, and you wish to nominate them, you can put them on the spot. They may say yes.
If nobody else, I will volunteer to be the new chair, but
So we've got one volunteer.
I move that we accept by acclamation the volunteer, Miss Megan.
So I've got a motion to move forward. Can I get a second?
This
I'll
is Wendy.
second.
I second that, Kristen Morgan.
All right. So we've got a second. So now we will need to take a vote. Please unmute yourself when called and cast your vote. So we'll start off with Brooke.
Do we just say aye?
Yes, please. If
Sure.
that's your vote.
Yes, aye.
All right. Mandy Perez.
Aye.
Thank you. Kristen Morgan.
Aye.
Wendy Young.
Aye.
Emmanuel Aname Green.
Aye.
Carla Criswell.
Aye.
Joseph Stivers. Did we lose Joseph? All right. Melanie Callahan.
I voted yes.
Awesome. Megan, I imagine you still get to vote even though we're voting for you.
Okay, I vote for myself. I feel like I'm back in elementary school, trying to win.
Chad Davidson.
Aye.
Corey Burns.
Aye.
Nick Schaffner.
Aye.
And last but not least, Shane Baker.
Aye.
Congratulations, Megan. You are our new TAC chair.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations, Chair Megan.
Thank you so much.
That brings us to our last slide. Melanie, I'll let you take it as it is your last slide that you will be running for us as the TAC chair.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I just want to just say thank you to everyone for allowing me to be the TAC chair this past year. It's been awesome. Also want to wish very well all of our TAC members who will be leaving us. This is our last meeting together. I know that it was myself and Chad and Carla. Is there anyone else that is leaving that I'm missing? If so, we are so grateful for the years of service. 3 years has gone very, very quickly, and you will see that it just moves super fast. So best wishes to Megan as she moves forward as your chair. If you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. And if there's nothing further from anyone else, we will move forward with a motion to adjourn.
Carla Criswell, motion to adjourn.
Chad Davidson, second.
And don't forget, your future meetings will be on March the 18th, 2026, and then June 17th in the summer of 2026. You guys have a great holiday season. Thank you, Justin, our wonderful and amazing liaison, and we'll see everybody soon.